these summits, a big focus for you, the global unions, is to will the call for a retention of stimulus measures that focus on job creation specifically. Just how much of the agenda has this case formed this time round?
Well, we've been, the UNI Global Union and the Global Union's delegation has been very active here. We were very, very nervous that the Greek drama would blow the G20 off course, that it would lose focus and attention on the issue of the real economy. We've met with each of the heads of state, and I think when the communique is released this afternoon, we are going to see the beginning of a fight back against the deficit hawks. The G20 Summit that took place in Toronto in 2010 put the world on an austerity and deficit reduction path, which has had significant social and job consequences. We are faced with record worldwide unemployment, 200 million. If we keep business as usual, we will have an unemployment rate of nearly 240 million next year. We've managed to go eyeball to eyeball with the world leaders and with the Sherpas who are drawing up the conclusions, and we've managed to get jobs back on the agenda. They're talking about growth. They're talking about job creation. They're going to set up a task force which will meet within days to address youth unemployment. So I think even though there's been this huge turmoil and turbulence about Greece, we kept the issues of people, of the 99%, firmly on the agenda here at Cannes.
Well, according to the ILO, because you've touched on some of those employment figures that currently stand, I mean, close to 80 million jobs need to be created over the next 2 years to bring employment levels back to those pre-crisis rates before the next crisis. I mean, what's the viability of actually hitting a target like that, Philip?
The money's there. The money's there. We've let the financial markets and the bond markets create a narrative that we're lacking resources, lacking means, and so forth. We've had to change the narrative here. The business community in the United States alone is sitting on $2 trillion. Barack Obama's got more than, the financial community in the United States has got more than $1 trillion, just sitting there, not doing anything. We try to change the narrative, try to change the rules of the game in this regard. That if you put 0.5% of GDP into job-creating measures, you can grow your labor market by up to 1%. This is affordable. Infrastructure can be done. Green investment can be done. Having specific measures for young people can be done. Hiring subsidies and so forth can be done. And what we're doing is we've managed to turn people's attention back to the job-growing side. You will not reduce your deficits with unemployment at this level. It's unsustainable.
Philip, I'm glad you said that you can't actually do that without creating employment. But all the austerity measures, the bailout consequences for Greece essentially means that immense austerity across the board has occurred, and therefore the country has been plunged into recession. The same fate lies ahead for the countries in the peripheral Eurozone that need to embark on austerity measures. What you're saying is very contrary to the bailout rules. Are those rules going to change? Has that been discussed?
I think what has happened is, but when the political leaders see the social tension and turmoil and chaos that we're seeing in Greece, they've had to think again, I think, about their whole approach on this question. And therefore, they're not ignoring the social realities in Greece, but I think they understood that the price that they have to pay in the short term is too much. I think that the package that was put together last week is insufficient to deal with the social consequences, and they have to do some rethinking about trying to have a plan for growth in Greece.
Philip,
and that's what's missing.
At the end of the day, we had Nicolas Sarkozy and Angela Merkel saying that if Greece does not adhere to the rules of the bailout package that was initially discussed and also last week, then Greece needs to leave the Eurozone and the EU as well. Are you saying that that could actually be relooked? And it's easy to say that talk and discussions are occurring and dialogue is occurring, but the point is that we actually need to see action. Is that imminent?
Look, no, I think what has happened here, that the Greek referendum drama has blown things off course. And there's been a great deal of posturing taking place with respect to the G20 message to the Greek political leadership. The Greeks have now stepped back, it looks like, from this referendum push, and that they're trying to, we will find out in the hours to come what the political structure of the government will look like and whether even Papandreou will stay. I think what we have been saying to the governments is, look, you're exacting too high a price on the people. It threatens your democracy. I mean, Greece, they sacked 3 colonels this week. The head of the military in Greece were dismissed. What kind of message does that send? It sends that, look, the extent of the pain which is being exacted on the Greek people is too high. And Europe is used to muddling through very often, and we still have to find ways to grow the Greek economy. I think the basic integrity of the package that we saw will obviously be maintained, but additional measures are required to ensure that the Greek people can get through this crisis.
So, Philip, safe to assume then that you've got a very positive bias towards the US right now, where there is a job strategy at play, and we've had President Barack Obama's policies on employment at least being tabled.
He stands out here, Obama, that he's in front of the crowd in terms of having a real job strategy and to invest $450 billion. His problem is he has economically illiterate Republicans who are looking at this jobs measure essentially as re-elect Obama. And this is cynical, and I think it's wrong. Yesterday, in the Senate, they rejected an infrastructure plan. The Republicans just followed party lines and blocked a major investment in American infrastructure, which will harm its competitivity and do nothing to resolve unemployment. What we are seeing here, that when you both read the communique, you will see a commitment to job growth, you will see a commitment to try and find strategies for growth in the midst
Philip,
of this of this climate. And Obama has got his job strategy. We need to see this fall out everywhere.
Philip, at the end of the day, after each and every G20 meeting, we hear the same, that it's just talk shop and it's a lovely process for all the leaders together to take photographs and no real action occurs. Are you saying that we're going to see action out of this G20 meeting?
Absolutely wrong. I mean, I think that's wrong. I think that's too cheap. I think it's too simplistic. You know, when the G20 leaders met in London in 2009, when we were just weeks and months into the crisis, they demonstrated that by coordinated action, they steered the global economy away from the economic abyss. There was tremendous uncertainty. There was uncertainty about the viability of the financial system. They decided to have a stimulus package. They decided to find the means to keep economies alive. There was a common purpose and a common sense, and they pulled us through. So it was important. At the G20 in Toronto, it's when they don't act together, it's or that they choose the wrong tack. They were in Toronto. They were overwhelmed by the deficit hawks, and the consequences of that decision 18 months down the track is a level of unemployment which is unsustainable, and the world facing a double-dip recession.
Well, Philip, on that note, let's leave it there. Unfortunately,
so these things matter. They count.
Well,
to think that this is just a talking shop is incorrect.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Philip Jennings, Secretary General at UNI Global Union. Of course, just whetting our appetite ahead of that communique being released after the G20 Summit concludes.